first part of this lesson will be a quick review on how to use the present. The focus will be on simple sentences such as you are happy. Since this will be just a review, I will quickly touch upon some important grammar before we move to the main part of this session, which is the past. Again, the focus will be simple sentences such as I was busy. In this part, however, I will touch upon the grammar and some common mistakes in a bit more detail. And last but not least, we will have the practice session, which is the most important session amongst all. So please don't miss that part. A few words about me. My name is Renata, been in Japan for over a decade, and I'm here to help you make sense of Japanese language. So let's get into it. So let's first see how we use the present. Do you remember how you say I am happy in Japanese? Here is the word order and the vocabulary I want you to use. I want you to use watashi, ureshii, and desu. So how would you build your sentence? Pause this video and translate this sentence on your own. I'm assuming your answer is watashi wa ureshii desu, right? That's what we learned in our last lesson, right? Excellent. Now let me briefly touch upon some very important grammar you have to be aware of. The first thing, you don't need to conjugate Japanese verbs. As you know, in English, the verb changes its form depending on whom are you referring to, right? In Japanese, you don't need to worry about that. Everyone is desu or da, depending whether or not you want to be formal. Literally everyone, with no exception whatsoever, okay? Now the tricky things. The word order is different. As you know, in English, the adjective comes last in a sentence, right? In Japanese, however, the adjective comes in the middle, okay? And the third thing is that nouns require particles. These particles depend on the case. At this level, I'm mostly touching upon the nominative case. And in a nominative case, the particle wa is required to be attached. Okay? Excellent. Now that we know the present, let's see how we can deal with the past. A quick note. The logic to build the past is significantly different from what we've seen in English, or in other Indo-European languages as well. So for this reason, let's hear them first, and let's see if you can catch the difference. I'm reading them, okay? Watashi wa ureshii desu. Watashi wa ureshikatta desu. Did you catch the difference? Let me read it again. Watashi wa ureshii desu. Watashi wa ureshikatta desu. Now my question to you, what changed? What changed is that the adjective changed form, not the verb. As you know, in English, the verb changes form. Am becomes was, right? In Japanese, the verb remains in the present. This is very important. Let me put it this way. It's only the adjective that changes. Everything else remains the same. Okay? Don't worry, we will practice it. Just stick with me. Now that we know that we will have to deal with adjectives, let me quickly touch upon Japanese adjectives. What you need to know is that there are two types of adjectives. The first category are the ones that end in double E, and this is the majority of the adjectives. The second category are all others. In this lesson, we will focus on the first category. Here is the list of the vocabulary that we will use in our practice session. As you can see, they all end in double E. Don't worry, we will practice it. Just stick with me. Now let us have a closer look on the grammar. As I mentioned earlier, it's only the adjective that changes. Everything else remains the same. Sorry, I'm in the background. So everything else remains the same, okay? So let's see how we can turn an adjective from the present to the past. Here is the present, 嬉しい. Now let's take a copy of that and let's turn it into the past. We will have to do two things in order to make that happen. The first thing is to cut the last E. The second thing is we will have to add katta. If we do these two things, we will end up with the past. So the present is 嬉しい. The past is 嬉しかった. Let me read them again. 嬉しい, 嬉しかった. Can you hear the difference? You probably can. Excellent. Now let's discuss some common mistakes that beginners tend to make. Mistake number 1 would be to say 私は嬉しいでした. I can see how this can happen. You're probably trying to say was, right? In the end, this is how English works, right? And other European languages too, right? M becomes was. And you can rightfully do that because this is indeed to be in the present. And the past equivalent would be deshita. So technically speaking, you can build this structure. But the problem is that this will not be correct. Okay? Don't translate M into was because it's not going to be correct. Okay? Stick to the present. Okay? Now, mistake number 2 is to say 私は嬉しかったでした. Let's look at this one. The adjective is correctly put into the past form. However, the verb is again in the past. This is very logical for us Europeans because for us, the verb changes. Again, this will not be correct. Stick to the present, okay? Let me repeat. 私は嬉しいでした. Not correct. 私は嬉しかったでした. Not correct. The only correct form is 私は嬉しかったです. Okay? This is very testable. At the jlpt, they will test that. It's a very easy trap to fall in. Don't fall for that. Okay? Now we've got to the most important part of our session, which is the practice session. This part is very important. If you want to become fluent in Japanese, this part is something you can't afford to miss. Because it's this part where you will reinforce what you've learned. This will be the session where you will apply the grammar on some new set of vocabulary. As I said, this is very important. Don't miss this out. So let's get into it. In the first exercise, you will help me fill out a table. I will tell you the adjective, and your job will be to put it in the present and the past. Here is the recipe I want you to use. You will understand what I mean very shortly. Stick with me. My first adjective. How do you say happy in Japanese? Do you remember? You would say 嬉しい, right? How do you say is happy? You would say 嬉しいです, right? And how do we put that in the past? It would be 嬉しかったです, right? Let's do the next one. How do you say cute in Japanese? In Japanese, you would say かわいい. How do you put it in the present? It would be かわいいです, right? And what about the past? It would be かわいかったです, right? Excellent. Let's do the next one. How do you say busy? In Japanese, it would be 忙しい, right? How do we say that in the present? It would be right, 忙しいです, right? And how would it be in the past? It would be 忙しかったです. Excellent. Let's see the next one. How do we say beautiful? Do you remember? It is 美しい, right? How do you say that in the present? It would be 美しいです, right? And what about the past? It would be 美しかったです, right? Excellent. Let's see the next one. Loud. How do you say loud? In Japanese, you would say うるさい. How do you put that in the present? It would be うるさいです, right? And what about the past? It would be うるさかったです, right? Okay, let's see the next ones. Bad. How do you say bad? In Japanese, that would be 悪い. So how would you put it in the present? It would be 悪いです, right? And what about the past? It would be 悪かったです, right? Let's see the next one. How do you say fast? In Japanese, that would be 早い. How would you put it in the present? It would be 早いです. And what about the past? It would be 早かったです, right? Let's do the next one. Slow. How do you say that? That would be 遅い. How do you say that in the present? It would be 遅いです, right? And what about the past? It would be 遅かったです, right? You can see the pattern. It repeats. It's not that complicated, right? Let's see the next one. Boring. How do you say boring? Now think about boring. This very exercise might be boring to you, but be aware that this very exercise will make you fluent. I cannot practice instead of you. So don't just sit back. Use your head, come up with your own answers. If you need more time, pause this video. But don't just sit back and listen. You will not reinforce those concepts if you don't do it on your own, okay? So how do you say boring? It would be つまらない. Okay? How is it in the present? It would be つまらないです. Come up with your own answers. Watching you. Okay, so how do we say that in the past? It would be つまらなかったです. Now we are done with our first part. Excellent. Now let's see the second exercise. This one will be a bit more sophisticated than the first one. What I mean by that? In this one, you will help me translate entire sentences. A quick note. You will have all the vocabulary you need. You will have the pronouns and you will have the adjectives. Also, here you have the recipe to form the present and the past, okay? So what I want you to do is to translate to me, she was happy. How do you say that? First, I'm assuming you're looking at she, right? She is this one, right? 彼女, right? And how do you say happy? Happy is this one, right? And this is in the past, right? And here is the recipe for the past. Use your head and come up with your translation. If you need more time, pause this video. So what's the answer? Your answer is probably 彼女は嬉しかったです, right? Excellent. Let's see the next one. It is boring. How do you say that? This may be boring, but this very boring thing will make you fluent. So don't just sit back and listen. Come up with your answer and only after check it with me, okay? So let's see. How would that be? It would be あれはつまらないです. Excellent. Let's see the next one. You are cute in singular. How would you say that? Your answer is most likely あなたはかわいいです. Right? Let's see the next one. We were happy. How do you say that? Your answer is most likely 私たちは嬉しかったです。Right? Excellent. Let's see the next one. He is loud. How would that sound like? 彼はうるさいです。Right? What about this one? They were slow in feminine. It would be 彼女たちは遅かったです。Right? Let's see the next one. You were busy. It would be あなたは忙しかったです。Right? Excellent. Let's see the next one. She is cute. How do you say that? Your answer is most likely 彼女は可愛いです。And let's see the last one. You were beautiful in plural. How would that sound like? It would be あなたたちは美しかったです。Right? Congratulations! You're done with both exercises. And this makes it for the end of this lesson. Keep up with your hard work, and I guarantee you, you will reach your goal. Have a great day.